Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show tonight, senior Congress leader AK Antony has created a storm with his remarks that the party has damaged itself by appearing to favour minorities over the majority community. Does the Congress need to rethink its secularism plank? Has the party appeased minorities, or are the concerns for minority upliftment justified? Also, I speak to senior Congress leader Digvijay Singh, who admits that a section of the Congress party is unhappy with Rahul Gandhi's leadership and gives us his take on Mr. Antony's comments. That's coming up in just a few minutes. But first, on the back foot over remarks made by senior leader AK Antony that the Congress appears to bat only for the minorities, the party today said that Mr. Antony's comments were only made in the context of Kerala. But that may do little to settle the debate. The BJP has jumped onto the remarks, sparking off a new row on what secularism really means.
Mr. Antony's statement was in the context of Kerala only. It was Kerala-centric.
That's how the Congress has attempted to put a full stop to the debate sparked off by senior leader AK Antony's comments.
എല്ലാ ജാതി മത സമൂഹത്തിൽപ്പെട്ട ആൾക്കാർക്കും അതുപോലെ നമ്മളത് പൂർണ്ണമായി ഉൾക്കൊള്ളുന്നുണ്ടോ എന്നുള്ള വിശ്വാസം എവിടെയോ കുറേശ്ശെ കുറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നു. നമ്മൾ ചായുന്നുണ്ടോ, ചരിയുന്നുണ്ടോ, എല്ലാവരും നീതി ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടോ, അതോ പ്രത്യേക ആൾക്കാരുടെ കൂടുതൽ താല്പര്യമുണ്ടോ?
But of course the BJP was only too happy to talk about Antony's comments, saying it has vindicated their stand. On Sunday, the BJP patriarch AK Antony said, "We welcome this soul-searching by Antony. He is now saying what we have always said. We have always said that secularism should mean justice for all, appeasement of none, discrimination against none." Though the Congress denies appeasement politics, only last week the Congress government in Maharashtra approved quotas for minorities. They attempted in Andhra Pradesh too, but it was struck down by the courts. One of the earliest decisions of UPA-1 was to create a separate minority affairs ministry. And after the Sachar committee report, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had said minorities and marginalized sections have the first right over country's resources. A huge electoral setback has forced the Congress to get into analysis mode and find out the reasons behind closed doors. And most certainly the party's stance on secularism is going to be a debating point. With camera person Suresh, Sandeep Phukan, NDTV.
So does Mr. Antony make a point in what he has said? Can the Congress wish away this controversy by saying that he was only talking about the state of Kerala? And is there a wider debate that will now open on the Congress's policies, especially on the issue of secularism and how it looks at the minority community? We have our commentator here with us tonight, Aarti Jairath, here in the studio. Javed Anand, well-known activist, joins us tonight from Mumbai. Amir Raza Hussain, well-known theatre personality and former politician. Also with us, Tehseen Pulawala. He's a political analyst and a Congress supporter. We'll be joined shortly by Rajiv Pratap Rudy of the BJP and Rahul Narvekar of the NCP. I want to state here right off that the Congress party officially has refused to debate this issue tonight. So officially they have not allowed any of their official spokespersons to speak on this issue. And therefore, Aarti Jairath, what does that tell you about the rumblings then within the party that they're so nervous about really going official and elaborating on Mr. Antony's comments? I mean, I've spoken to Digvijay Singh about it, which I'll play in a short while, but he's kind of his own island, his own person. Officially, the party seems a little wary, and by calling it as comments only confined to Kerala, can they wish this away?
No, clearly not. And, Nidhi, the problem with AK Antony's diagnosis of the problem with the Congress is that I think again, he's got the diagnosis wrong. I mean, the Congress has lost the Hindu vote, yes. But if you look at the results of these elections, the Congress has lost the Muslim vote as well. I mean, you look at states where minorities are present in large numbers, West Bengal, Bihar, UP. What was the Congress's performance in all these states? It's virtually wiped off the map. So the point is that the Congress has obviously done something wrong, very seriously wrong, that it has lost the Hindu vote, it has lost the minority vote too. So it's not just appeasement of minorities, I mean, I think the Congress is seen as, appeasing nobody, because frankly, all the so-called pro-Muslim steps that they claim to have taken, those promised quotas and so on and so forth, have clearly not brought any benefits to the minority community at all, as the Sachar committee report has shown us.
So then
that the
why
state
is Mr. Antony saying so?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's misdiagnosed the problem.
And he's supposed to be analysing the reasons for their defeat.
Exactly. So, you know, do you expect the Congress to come out of the hole that it's got into now if they can't get the diagnosis right?
Mr. Rajiv Pratap Rudy is with us. Right, Mr. Rudy, the Congress party says that these were comments that Mr. Antony was making only in the context of Kerala, and that perhaps the BJP has read too much into this, and of course the media has read too much into this. Do you buy that explanation? Do you think that there was more to it, more to what Mr. Antony said?
Well, if we have to talk about Mr. Antony, let's just find out who is Mr. Antony and his seniority in the Congress politics. He's been there for more than 45 years in the Congress party, a senior leader from Kerala. And not to forget that in the recent UPA government, he was one of the topmost ministers in the government holding the defense portfolio. Now, and especially in the backdrop of what has happened in the recent elections, what Mr. Antony was saying, yes, people in the Congress party would say that he's just limited to what he's talking about Kerala. That is the defense which they are talking about. But the fact remains that a sensible man like Mr. Antony, who has a very clear image and is generally seen to be a man with high integrity, he has talked something about the Congress in Kerala in a small public function, where he has said people's faith in secularism of the Congress is a suspect. Now, this is not a small statement with reference to Kerala. He has seen the results. He's an intelligent man. He has seen the results across the country. And now when he has to interpret what has happened in this nation, he has very specifically and very categorically said people's faith in Congress's secularism is eroded. Now, this is a very telling story. It's a very strong statement. And possibly it's an introspection on the part of a very senior leader of the Congress party. So if anyone says that limit it or subscribe it only with reference to Kerala, it's not correct. He has said something very sensible, which possibly BJP in a very louder way has been speaking for a very long time. It's not that. We have spoken about it, and today the country has actually voted, and even the Muslims across the country want to get themselves away from the Congress plank of using them as a vote bank politics.
Okay, but you make a very important point, Mr. Rudy, which I'll take to Tehseen Poonawalla, which is that Mr. Antony is a very senior leader. He's also someone who is not known to speak out of turn and you know, make comments off the cuff. So when he says something publicly, it is taken seriously. So can their Congress therefore wish this away as something that is only confined to Kerala? Isn't there a bigger message that Mr. Antony was making?
First of all, whatever Mr. Antony told was, as the Congress says, limited to Kerala. That is one part of the thing. But I love how Rudy ji today says Antony ji is a senior leader, very intelligent leader. Until only 1 month before the elections, they were calling Antony ji all sorts of names and criticizing him. But that aside, the BJP is known to do U-turns. What is the locus standi? What is the locus standi? What is the Rudy ji? I never interrupted you. Can I please make my points? Please, can I make my points? Well, you should just have to go into Parliament and see all the criticism that Antony ji has got. But this is not a debate about Antony ji. This is a debate about the Congress ideology and the BJP ideology. Can I please make my points? Thank you, sir. The fact of the matter is this, Nidhi. What is the locus standi of the BJP? If they, at one end, they talk about minority appeasement of the Congress, and we'll get into that later on, from the history of the RSS and Golwalkar's books, from the bunch of thoughts to India nationhood redefined, to today manifesto, which talks about Ek Bharat, the BJP talks about majority appeasement. So they today are talking about appeasement and against appeasement politics. Yes, the word secularism.
Let's talk about the Congress though. We'll talk about the BJP later.
I completely agree with you and RTG on a larger point. And I've heard RTG speak about this otherwise. The word secularism, unfortunately, a very important word, has been misused and abused. Unfortunately, this word has now been turned around by the BJP's propaganda machine to almost sound like a...
It, though? Isn't the Congress responsible?
Propaganda.
No, what about the Congress?
Secularism stand for? What does the Congress stand for?
What does the Congress do?
Yes.
It resorts to tokenism and appeasement just before elections. Look at the Maharashtra Muslim quota last week. It is just on the eve of assembly elections in Maharashtra. So why does the Congress only remember the upliftment of Muslims before an election?
Well, let's begin.
And also one second. Can I just 1 second say one more thing? A very important thing. If you remember, during the course of the last election, Sonia Gandhi met with Muslim leaders.
Yes.
And she told them, don't divide the secular vote. So, in other words, she was virtually equating the word secular with the Muslim vote.
No, one second.
You know,
now,
I mean, that's
completely,
look, what is the message?
Yes,
you send
okay,
out?
answer
What is
that,
the
let
message
me
you
answer
send
each
out?
of these individually.
Yes.
First, Sonia Gandhi meeting the Muslim leaders. Well, they sought her appointment. That's been clarified. As the
That's okay.
Rajnath
We're
Singh
talking about what she said.
Rajnath Singh met the Muslim leaders in Lucknow. So let's not.
We're talking about the use of the word secular vote in the context of
and
meeting Muslims.
also Hindus who do believe in liberal plural ideology are also secular. There are also people of every community that believe in a liberal plural ideology. That ideology, that liberal plural ideology of Nehru and Gandhi is the ideology of the Congress. Unfortunately, because of the Congress's communication mishaps, and unfortunately because of how mishaps, and unfortunately because of the propaganda machinery of the BJP, this word secular, which is very, very important to us, has today come out to seem like a bad word. But Nidhi, let's compare apples to oranges. I'll just take a minute more and one sentence more. If the Congress is guilty, as Rudy Ji says, as RTG says, of minority appeasement, let me give you an example of current history today and their manifesto, Ek Bharat. They say prosecuted Hindus will get refuge in India. So forget Muslims. They don't like Muslims. Let's leave that aside. If a Christian is politically prosecuted in Britain and of Indian origin, he does not get refuge in India. Their manifesto, Rudy Ji's 2014 manifesto, talks about Hinduism.
But the point is
the fact is they remove the Kashmir autonomy only to make it sound Muslim. They don't talk about 7 other regions of India that have autonomy.
But the point is, today you have a senior leader within the Congress party who
Where
is
the
raising
Congress
questions.
needs to introspect on why it isn't able to communicate its idea of liberalism, pluralism, something that the BJP stands against. From the time of history, from the time of Golwalkar to today, their manifesto.
Rahul Narvekar, the Congress NCP government in Maharashtra has just cleared, for instance, this 5% quota for Muslims. Only last week the cabinet has cleared it. Something that was in the NCP's agenda, something that your leader Mr. Sharad Pawar really pushed for. And you face the same questions as an ally of the Congress, that all of you remember the Muslim community, you remember reservations, you know, just before an election takes place. Mr. Salman Khurshid got in trouble for it before the UP polls. It's happened again now in Maharashtra. Rahul Narvekar.
Well, Nidhi, before I answer your question, let me also tell you a little bit about this controversial so-called secularism debate. Secularism is not a concept of the Congress party or of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Secularism is something that is imbibed in our constitution, in the preamble to our constitution, and that is something which every Indian is bound to follow. Insofar as what Mr. Antony has said, I think it's more to do with perception than intent. I don't think there is an issue with regards to the intent of the UPA. The intent of the UPA was to be just and to perform their obligations as prescribed by the Constitution of India. Now the perception that may have come out is something that needs to be debated, deliberated and introspected about. So I don't think there is anything wrong in that, and that's a very candid statement and should be taken at face value. Insofar as the question of Maharashtra is concerned, any individual who knows the background of this policy would not make this, would not say this is an opportunistic position by the Maharashtra government. Please appreciate that this was a 2004 poll promise made by the Congress NCP. Thereafter, there was a report of the State Backward Class Commission.
10 years later,
and 10 years later,
Please,
you remember that same poll promise.
Please bear with me for half a minute.
Okay.
Please bear with me for half a minute. You'll get your answer as to the with regards to the timing of this decision.
Go ahead.
So there was the state backward card commission's report, which was in itself contradictory. Thereafter, there was a commission set up under the leadership of Justice Bapat, and Justice Bapat's report also was not conclusive. Thereafter, there was a commission set up under the leadership of Mr. Narayan Rane, Industries Minister, who very categorically dealt with this issue. Please appreciate, please just give me 20 seconds more. Mr. Narayan Rane's committee surveyed more than 4 lakh families. They went to 4 lakh families, had a detailed survey. They presented their report in March 2014. Government was very keen on bringing out the policy then itself, but there was election code of conduct going on, and as soon as the code of conduct got done with, after the Maharashtra Assembly convened, this decision was taken by the Honorable Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra. There is nothing such as opportunism in this decision. You will appreciate the High Court has passed a ruling where the High Court has said, unless you have a detailed survey, you cannot make such reservations.
The timing is very
Only
suspect.
after following the entire due process, the government has taken this stand.
Okay, you know, you may say that, but the timing will be suspect, because if it's a 10-year-old promise, despite all, you know, the due process got conveniently finished just before polls. So I think those question marks will be raised. But I just bring, you know, there is an important point you made about, you know, the Muslim community, how surveys were done, and there were detailed reports that were gone into. So, Mr. Rudy, if you look at some of those figures, you know the Sachar committee and what it said about the state of Muslims. You have the Mahmood Rahman committee report in Maharashtra, which recommended the reservations for Muslims. It says, for instance, that more than 70% Muslims in urban areas face housing problems. Only 2% Muslims graduate from colleges. Only 1.4% of these are women. That their share in the IAS in Maharashtra is under 1%. In the police force, just about 4%. Now, what these figures reflect, Mr. Rudy, is perhaps a genuine problem that the Muslim community faces that need to be addressed. How do you address those?
Yes,
and if you try to, then it's seen as appeasement.
Yes, Nidhi, just few points. Gentleman, Mr. Poonawala, I must first ask him, when did BJP talk about Mr. Antony or abuse him or talk against him? So that he must clarify before imagining that BJP had said something. So if we appreciate some person, it doesn't mean that you have to come back and say that you have screamed against him. Second, Nidhi, you have raised a very, very good question. Why shouldn't Muslims in this country be given a special privilege or maybe more than what others deserve? Yes. But can I take this liberty of asking, there has been a government of the UPA in different forms as the Congress in the last 55, 60 years. I find a very dear friend sitting on the channel here today. Did anyone stop from the minorities in any form to get the best advantage? And if we have to be very practically recall that those who are talking about secularism had the entire liberty and 50 years down the line to bring up the level of those people whom they sound very concerned today. They talk about commissions, there is a report of such a commission, there are other reports. Now this is exactly what the BJP questions. Why this fancy and why this great heart for the Muslims from the Congress party gradually over the years, trying to scare them and say that, look, we care for you, and at the same time, the society which remains most deprived is, of course, a particular community, if a report says. But at the same time, there is a majority community in this country which is also deprived. So this concept, when they try to pool in certain votes across the country, saying that, look, you have been deprived, we'll certainly look after you, we'll get reservations for you, we'll get this for you. And there is a clash which is being built up in the minds. And to the extent that today in the country,
you're saying that
they stand isolated.
You're saying that the policies are not constructive, that they want Muslims to be in that victimhood mindset.
They have failed. Now, Nidhi, whichever you can give me the last word.
Yeah.
Now the BJP has the biggest challenge today. Now we have the biggest challenge. We are not talking about individuals, community. We are talking about getting the whole nation ahead and far ahead, along with everyone, each and whether it's Buddhists, whether Christians, whether Muslims, whether Hindus. This is the manifesto of the Bharatiya Janata Party, which the Congress people hate. They know that they have lost the game. They are trying to play in Maharashtra. They try to play in Andhra Pradesh. They have lost the game. Now they are not going to get an opportunity to it.
Okay.
Whatever good has to be done is to be done by the BJP now. The people, even the Muslims in this country, have given us an opportunity, and we will fulfill their aspirations. The BJP promises to fulfill the aspirations of those who have been left behind, including the minorities.
What Rajiv Pratap Rudy in a sense is saying, that the BJP talks about aspirational politics, whereas the Congress and the UPA are kind of stuck in that, oh, you know, poor you victims of, you know, you don't have education, you don't have this, you don't have that, let us give you reservations. You know, that it's just a mindset and an approach that is completely different, and that is what is costing the Congress.
So quick points to all of those counters. I'll come to that point last. First, he spoke about AK Antony. Since he asked me, let me remind him. I'll just make a quick point. When it was VK Singh who called AK Antony all sorts of names on the Tetra Rao, it was Sushma Swaraj who called AK Antony all sorts of names when the LOC killings happened. I don't want to get into that debate. That's a separate debate. That's selective amnesia. But let's leave that aside. Now to come to the more important part. He quoted the Sachar Committee report. He said this is all about appeasement. It is the Sachar Committee report that the current Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji uses to show that Muslims Muslims are faring better in Gujarat. Let's leave that point aside. Now coming to the point that you have made, that about their approach. Well, since they say that there should be no religious reservations, but they are okay with religious discrimination. They speak about the Constitution of India. Was demolishing the Babri Masjid constitutional? Was the Muzaffarnagar riots constitutional?
Reservations are not okay with the Indian Constitution or with the Indian Supreme Court.
But the Indira Sahni judgment very categorically. See, this is where the BJP plays half by smart. This is where the BJP plays half by smart. Rajiv ji, please, I never interrupted you. I'm not getting into that. I'm going into the Indira Sahni judgment. Since he made a point, let me get into the Indira Sahni judgment. The Indira Sahni judgment very categorically says, yes, there should be no reservations based on religion, but just because somebody happens to be of a certain religion, if he's backward, you cannot deny him reservations. That's the Supreme Court position. Now let's come to the very important point. The BJP talks about minority appeasement. They don't talk about, and they talk about the constitutional validity. Was it constitutional or was it even moral to give those who indulged, forget the history, let's talk about today, in the Muzaffarnagar riots, tickets, people like Balyan and Felicite, people like Som, they had a rally. Was it today, in their own manifesto which I read out to you, their positions as of today, can Rajiv Pratap Rudy today say that he disowns what Golwalkar ji said about making this a Hindu Rashtra? Can Rudy ji say this on your channel today? This is their politics, okay, unfortunately. Right, they are the ones, and just one last line.
No, I have to get the other panelists in, because this will then spiral into something completely different. Ahmed Raza Hussain, how do you look at AK Antony's comments then? Do you think, in a sense, he hit the nail on the head, or as Aarti Jairath says, what is he talking about? They didn't get the Muslim vote either. So what is this analysis?
You know, Mr. Antony has never been known for great political thought or great political analysis. So I don't know how, I don't think we should really take his comment very seriously, because nothing which Mr. Antony said in the last 10 years has really been taken seriously by the country. So having said that, I wish to say that the Congress, I completely agree with Mr. Rudy. The Congress has been in power for 10 years, at least in this UPA stint. If they had done anything for the Muslims, they would have got the Muslim vote. This time, the Muslims have just abandoned the Congress, as the rest of the country has abandoned the Congress. So it's not as if they have announced these silly little quotas before and they have got no vote on that. I think this announcing this 5% in Maharashtra is ridiculous. I've said it time and again. It alienates the majority community, which thinks that there's minority appeasement going on. No benefit ever comes to the minority community, because even in this election, we don't know if this government is going to come back in Maharashtra. Any other government comes back, there will be no talk of any quota. Even if this government comes back, it will take 5 years for any kind of benefit to reach the Muslim community.
Hussain, you agree with the basic premise of then what Mr. Antony said, that by this, in a sense, this appeasement, you do alienate the majority, and you appear to be too much in favor of one community.
I don't agree with what Mr. Antony said, because if there was appeasement, it would be great, but there is no appeasement. The Congress has not done anything for the Muslims in the last 10 years, or in the last 50 years, or in the last 60 years. If they had, we wouldn't have such, the Sachar committee wouldn't show this kind of situation about the Muslims.
Yeah.
They have done nothing for the Muslims. They give this whole tamasha of appeasement of the Muslims, so it alienates everybody else. The Muslims get no benefit out of it, and the Congress is just doing a charade. This time their charade has been exposed. They have not got the Muslim vote. They will not get the Muslim vote in Maharashtra, and I'll tell you, though very little Muslim vote went to the BJP in the central elections, but Maharashtra and the state elections are a separate cup of tea. Muslims will vote for Shiv Sena, Muslims will vote for BJP, Muslims will vote for NCP, but Muslims will not vote for the Congress. And the more tamasha like this they bring forward, and the more controversies they create using the name of the Muslim community, the more the Muslims move away from them. You've got a Congress. You've got a Congress. Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this. You've got a Congress government in Maharashtra, yet there is a killing of this techie in Pune.
Now, we can't blame the central BJP government about this. It is the Congress government that is responsible. Why are they not able to control the law and order situation in the country or in their state?
Would you agree with that take by Amir Raza Hussain, that it's basically cynical politics that the Congress has played over the years again and again, and they clearly don't learn from it, because you've slowly seen the Muslim vote, if it really does exist as one bloc, move away completely?
Nidhi, I'd like to put it differently, and I'd like to go back to what Aarti said right in the beginning. It is perhaps the mother of all ironies that a community, that is the Muslims in India, who are the victim of discrimination, as is abundantly clear from the Sachar committee report, who are the victims of recurring hate crimes, who are underrepresented in parliament. So victims of discrimination in every sense of the term are accused as being appeased. Now, I think we would have much better understanding of the situation if instead of using the word appease, we would use the word tokenism. That will perhaps explain a few things. But before I get there, I want to make a point about Mr. Antony's remarks. I find it quite perplexing that the Congress is saying that this is said in the context of Kerala. If anything, Kerala is one state where till date, right from independence onwards, the BJP does not have even a single MLA. So I think the real problem is that the Congress is completely unable to comprehend or unwilling to comprehend majoritarian Hindu majoritarianism that goes in the name of democracy in this country. It kind of plays footsie with it itself from time to time, and then it deals with tokenism. It does not have any real solutions to offer. As a result of which, Muslims are also extremely frustrated and disenchanted with the Congress party.